And a very good Friday morning to you, David Mooradian, Ethan Glaich, on the rundown on a football Friday, Super Bowl Sunday, just 48 hours away. The New England Patriots taking on the Seattle Seahawks in Santa Clara. And then, Ethan, we've got the Arizona Wildcats hosting the Oklahoma State Cowboys tomorrow at the McHale Center. That's going to be you and Damon.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot to get to.
Yeah, as you like to say, it's a jam-packed weekend.
I don't know if is it jam-packed, because let's think about it. The NBA, we're in this kind of lull. The trade deadline is now over, so you can end the speculating. And I think this part of the season gets a little anticlimactic until you get post-All-Star break, because now you've got the break coming up, no deadline. So I think you kind of have a calmness there. Arizona, not a marquee matchup on Saturday. They're favored by about 20 points.
A few marquee matchups coming up.
So you look around. We haven't gotten to baseball yet. So I think it's an exciting weekend, but it's quality.
Well, I mean, you got the Super Bowl.
It's quality
so it
over
exciting.
quantity, right? We've got a couple of good things.
Mm-hmm.
There's not this huge volume, so it's jam-packed. I don't know about that, but certainly top-heavy, right? This is a top-heavy kind of show, and we've got a lot to bring to you. So I'll let you start where you want, Ethan.
Let's start with the Super Bowl.
All right, let's go Super Bowl. So here's my take on the Super Bowl, okay? Neither team was expected to be where they are, and that's not even a take. There's nothing nuanced about that. You have to imagine. I don't recall exactly, but the preseason win totals for Seattle probably 8.5. New England probably about 7.5, maybe even less. The Patriots won 4 games last year. Seattle has been consistently mediocre ever since the post Legion of Boom, Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll era. They've been, between 8 to 10 wins every year, but never once since their loss against New England have they had a team that people really thought could win the championship. Am I wrong about that?
No, not
I would
at all.
say ever since Russell Wilson threw that interception at the 1-yard line, they haven't been particularly close. They've had some good teams. They've made the playoffs, but nobody ever really thought they were going to win it all.
Well, I think the struggle with Seattle was they couldn't find a quarterback.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
They were kind of a fading, destiny or
Yep.
defense.
Now give
dynasty
Seattle
of it.
credit. They've made 2 or 3 really smart choices. One of them that some people overlook is it was time for Russell Wilson to get another paycheck, that last one, and cash in. And their front office and even Pete Carroll sat there and they said, we think he's pretty much done. And people were very surprised. The timing, if you remember, this is about 5 years ago now. People were very surprised by that move, and it wasn't particularly popular in Seattle. He goes to Denver. They give him a huge contract. They give him an office up on the suite floor, right? I mean, they really treated him like a king. And he was finished. His career was over.
Well, I think
the Denver tenure was a disaster, and that was a huge move for Seattle because they have given themselves a lot of financial freedom, and they've been able to build their team really beginning with that moment even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the thing with Russell Wilson is he was known for how he extended plays. You know, he would run 50 yards east-west and then make a crazy throw. And as you get older, that ability to extend starts to decline, and Seattle saw that every day in practice. He's not making the same throws that he used to. He's not making the same plays that he used to. So, we're going to get off of him while he's still valuable, and people, teams think that he's got some gas left in the tank,
Right.
So, and he just didn't.
Well, there's another team that had to make a very similar decision, and they happen to be playing in the Super Bowl as well. I'm talking about the Patriots in 2019. Now, Belichick's trying to make this move before Seattle did with Tom Brady, and the thought process was exactly the same. I want to move on maybe 1 year early rather than a few years too late. I'd rather just restart, get a young quarterback, and let's go. And that decision can play out 2 different ways. And in New England's case, it was the wrong choice. Tom Brady goes on, to win a Super Bowl his first year with Tampa. The next year after that, they're in the conference championship game and so forth. So it backfired for the Patriots, and they really paid the price. Not only were the fans incredibly frustrated, but they moved on from Brady, and the replacement wasn't there. Now, the same is true for Seattle. It took them a few years to find their quarterbacks, and you have to say right now, it looks like both of them have landed on their feet, and with some premium former draft picks. Now, New England's quarterback is a little bit more conventional, right? This is his second year. He was the number 3 pick, and it's just been pretty linear, right? There hasn't been a lot of you say bumps, ups and downs. There haven't been very many downs. It was a 4-win season for Drake May, but what are you really expecting his rookie season? He showed some flashes, whatever. Sam Darnold, there's been plenty of downs. It's been more down than up. The last 2 years have been incredibly up for him, but here's the other thing that people are kind of forgetting, Ethan. He's a number 3 overall pick, too. Drake May was picked 3rd overall. Sam Darnold was picked 3rd overall. Now, how they got there, like I said, completely different, but these are 2 quarterbacks that are very talented, and you have to give each of them credit for identifying their players in their post kind of legend, post Super Bowl era. So let's get to the game. That's how we got here. Now we're here. So what's going to happen? Well, here's what I think. Like I said, nobody expected either one of these teams to be where they are. The Patriots, however, are treated completely differently than the Seattle Seahawks. And I have a theory for that, Ethan. Fans, when they're, and even analysts, they are drunk on offense. If a team is flashy, I'll raise you, the Rams, for example, right? Defensively, I had been saying on this show all year, for some reason, the Rams defense got a lot of credit. I never was particularly impressed
it felt like
with
you were
their
able
defense.
to throw on them all season. Like the Panthers nearly beat them twice.
I mean, we can pull the tapes. When all year long, I had been saying we're looking at the landscape. Who's going to go to the Super Bowl? Who's that one team? What are we missing here? And I kept saying, conventional wisdom says it's got to be the Rams. They've got Matt Stafford. What other quarterbacks have the experience or the resume that he has? But I said, I kept saying, I don't trust them, and I don't trust their defense. Now, fans, like I said, they're drunk on offense. The better the team's offense is, that's how they rank teams. Defense doesn't really matter. And that's where I bring up the Patriots. Defense not only wins championships, I think it's highly important. Now, the Patriots' offense in the regular season was very efficient, was productive enough to win 14 games, probably just as competent as their defense. And because of the matchups that they've had, the nature of their games, New England has relied on their defense in the postseason. I say, so what? They're in the Super Bowl. They won their 3 games, and they played against 3 teams that have great defenses and struggle a little bit on offense. They shut the Chargers down to 3 points. Houston couldn't move the ball and had 5 turnovers. And the Denver Broncos, I understand it was Jarrett Stidham, but they're still at home. They're still a team that was the number 1 seed, and I think Stidham is a competent quarterback. They scored 7 points. So just because the Patriots are winning with defense, that means I'm supposed to sit here and say they don't have a shot? Sorry, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. They gave up like 25 points in the whole postseason, which is just unbelievable for a 4-game run now. But you're forgetting about one thing here with the Seahawks, and that their defense was the number 1 scoring defense in the nation. Nick Ebenwari, they got guys all over that fly to the ball. They've been one of the best defenses, if not the best defense, right up there with the Texans in the entire NFL all year long. So, you're giving so much credit to this Patriots defense. You got to give some credit to Seattle.
Well, the reason I'm not giving the credit to Seattle, and Seattle's worthy of all the credit you want to heap on them, is they're getting it from everybody else. They're a 4.5-point favorite. Everybody and their mother is picking Seattle to win this game on Sunday, and that may be true. But I'm just saying, I think this is going to be a very competitive game. I think these teams are a lot closer than they're made out to be. No question, Seattle's defense is terrific, and their offense has really been solid this season. But I just want to say, just because my main point is this. New England has been doubted all year. I hate the Patriots, by the way. Full disclosure, they're one of my least favorite organizations, not only in football,
like it,
but in professional sports. Well, I'm just trying to be correct. I'm trying to inform our listeners. I've been saying since December I thought they were going to win the AFC. I wasn't saying it with a lot of pleasure and enjoyment, but look at where we are. They're in the Super Bowl, so I got something right. And the other thing is this. Just because, and I'm just going to beat this dead horse until people understand, just because of how they're winning, to me, I'm not going to detract from that. You're in the Super Bowl, and really anything can happen. You want to talk about considerable underdogs in recent memory. Nobody was really giving the Broncos a chance because Peyton Manning didn't have an arm anymore, and Denver's defense is great, but how are they going to score? They're playing against Cam Newton. Well, their defense dominated that football game, and it wasn't particularly close. The Patriots' most recent Super Bowl win, they gave up 3 points against the Rams. So, defense can be done, and that's in seasons now where offense has been looming large. Now, there's no question, I think, in the regular season, Ethan, that the teams who want to run the ball and play great defense, they are at a little bit of a disadvantage because the sport has changed, and it's not 1990 anymore. But you've got to have some defense, and the LA Rams proved that. And I think in the Super Bowl, it does start to matter. What about the Eagles? I mean, the Eagles won last year with terrific defense. I mean, the Chiefs couldn't get a first down.
The Eagles.
So I think it's going to be very important. And it's a short game, right? It's going to come down to probably a couple of plays. I think it's going to be very close. I think 4.5 is a lot. Now we can get into the Sam Darnold of it all too. Sam Darnold plays last year for the Minnesota Vikings, and here's the difference. Last year they've got a regular season game against Detroit, final game of the year. Whoever wins is the 1 seed. Whoever loses has to play the Rams on the road, and that's not a position you want to be in. And Sam Darnold was putrid against a Detroit defense that wasn't particularly strong and that got shredded in their first playoff game against Washington. I mean, shredded, Ethan. but Darnold was awful. Okay, and then in the playoffs against the Rams, he was worse. And so people are saying, oh, well, he had this great season. They won all these games. But when it really mattered, he stunk, right? And that was it. This year, he's had a couple of games where it really mattered. Didn't have to do anything against San Francisco. Didn't have to do a thing. But against the Rams, he was pretty darn good. And that was a revenge game because, remember, the Rams were the team that sent the Vikings home the year before, and he looked horrible and completely got his revenge last week. Now, is that enough? Here's the question I want to ask. Sam Darnold's had a great year once again. But in the back of some people's minds, they're still thinking about the playoffs last year. Is his performance against L.A. enough for you to forget about what happened in those 2 games last year?
I think that coming into last year with the Vikings, or not coming into last year, coming into this year, the question around Sam Darnold was, he was great last year. He's going to have another good season in the regular season. He's going to throw for a ton of yards, throw a good amount of touchdowns. But will he be able to get it done in the playoffs with a very good defense and a very good receiving core around him and a good head coach? And so far, the answer's been yes. Like, nothing has shown me why Sam Darnold can't do it in the Super Bowl on Sunday. He put up, 350 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Rams, outplaying Matthew Stafford completely. And then in the divisional with the 49ers, he didn't really have to do much, but the team just showed that they were the better team. And, they could very well show that on Sunday. So I am leaning more towards Seattle just because of the strength of the team. But New England's definitely got a strong case to be made, as you've been saying on the show.
Yeah, I think both of these teams are really well-rounded, and I think that's what is rewarded in the postseason, more so than anything. That's kind of what I'm trying to drive home. And talking about those quarterback-heavy teams just in the regular season, even you talk about Houston Texans, right, your team. So let's talk about Buffalo and the Rams first. Not great on defense this year, really relying on strong quarterback play. Can score points, but would you characterize either one of them as well-rounded football teams? You'd have to say no. And then you talk about Houston, a terrific defense, and
zero offense.
And that's not well-rounded, right? And one-dimensional teams, whichever way it is, are not rewarded in the postseason. And I think both of these teams are well-rounded. Now, the team that has to prove something, or the unit that has to prove something, is probably the Patriots' offense at this point. Second-year quarterback, and maybe haven't had to have a lot of offense, but haven't in the postseason. Now, the question is, are we going to forget about the regular season, Ethan? I think that their offense was terrific in the regular season. I can recall several games where moving the football and scoring points for them was a non-issue. And that was against playoff teams. They scored 42 points against the Carolina Panthers. They won their division. They scored an average of about 30 points against the Buffalo Bills in 2 games this year. Now, I know the Bills have a great
beat
defense.
the Bucks by 12.
Yeah, they beat the Bucks, scoring about 30 points. So you're exactly right. And that's when Tampa was playing well. That was kind of before their season imploded. So they have shown you this year that they can move the ball. Now, is the moment going to be too big for Drake May? I just talked about Sam Darnold and the fact that big games last year were not kind to him. Well, we don't really know how Drake May is going to perform in a big game. He's been quiet in the postseason. He's been protected, I think, by the coaching staff, has done what has been needed to win, but nothing exceptional. So if Drake May has to be exceptional on Sunday, will the moment be too big for him, Ethan?
I really don't know. I mean, the coaching staff all season has put him in spots to succeed. They run these quick, short plays. They run the ball very well. They have a good offensive line. But when Drake May has needed to step up in the postseason, he has. He made a crucial throw for a touchdown to Hunter Henry against the Chargers. He made one of the best throws I've ever seen, and that was one of the most incredible catches I've watched live by Keyshawn Boutte in the divisional against the Texans, a one-handed grab over Derek Stingley. And then in the AFC Championship, it was a tough game because of the weather, and the snow was just falling like crazy. So, it was a run-heavy game. The Broncos missed some field goals, but the Patriots have put Drake May in a spot, and specifically Josh McDaniels has put him in a spot to succeed, where they get their receivers open quickly, and, he doesn't have to do too much extending plays and throwing the ball down the field, but when they do take shots and when he does have to extend, he executes pretty well. So I do think he's going to live up to it.
Mike Vrabel was named Coach of the Year last night, and really I think you mentioned a big reason why that was the case is his decision to bring in Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator in the offseason. I mean, that was a major win for the Patriots. The other thing, you talk about the post-Tom Brady implosion. Remember, Josh McDaniels was the Patriots offensive coordinator Mac Jones' rookie season, and they made the postseason that year, Ethan. They were right there with Buffalo for a lot of that year, and they got hammered in the wild card. You may remember in Buffalo they lost by 50 points or something. But they didn't have a particularly good team, and with coaching, McDaniels and Belichick got New England to the wild card. Now what happens the next year? McDaniels gets the Raiders job, and ever since then, the Belichick was done in New England. I mean, he couldn't make anything happen without McDaniels. And now McDaniels is back in Foxborough, and he's got the team in the Super Bowl his first year back. Now, there's a lot to that. Mike Vrabel is doing an excellent job running the show, and they've found their quarterback. But I think McDaniels deserves a huge amount of credit. I don't think he can be given enough credit, frankly. And I think he's one of the bigger storylines coming into this game. He is a top offensive coordinator in the league. He has been for almost 2 decades now. And what kind of game is he going to call on Sunday? You think he is? It's got to be his usual style, Ethan. And when 100%. I say that, it's first quarter, a lot of running, a lot of stuff underneath. Get the Seahawks to creep in, maybe a couple of punts, and you're okay to do that. And then just when the Seahawks are a little bit too close, they're going over the top. And a lot of people probably remember with Tom Brady, the first half would be a lot of dump offs, and then right before halftime, take a few shots. You got 14 to 21 points at the break. You get the ball out of halftime, go right down the field with a halftime script, and the game's kind of over. And that's I think how you're going to have to expect New England to play. They're going to be a slow start, and keep an eye on them right around halftime. That's what I expect.
So you think they're going to go over their team total points?
Well, I can tell you what it is based on, here's a little formula a lot of people don't know. So you don't even have to take your phone out.
I just want to see if you're going to be right.
The over-under in the game is 45.5, and the Seahawks are favored by 4.5. So what you do there is 45.5 divided by 2 is about 22, 23, right? Somewhere in that ballpark.
Then you add 2 to Seattle.
Add 2 to Seattle, take 2 away from New England. So they're expecting about 25 to 21. That's 46, right? So New England's line is either 20.5 or 21.5. So they expect the Patriots to settle right around 21 points. I think that's probably an accurate number. I think they're going to be around 0 at the end of the first quarter, and then they'll probably score around halftime twice, as is to be expected with them, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the game. I think probably they'll go over that. Good weather in Santa Clara, but it's gonna be good. That's a good line.
The line for the listeners is 19.5.
Interesting.
So a little below what you said. They think about 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals.
And what's Seattle's then?
Seattle's is at 25.5.
How much are they favored by?
I thought it was 4.5.
That's got them favored by 6.
It's 4.5.
Huh. Well, I'll tell you what. I said what I thought was the formula, and I was way off. So apparently, I don't know.
Just a little bit, just by a point, not too much. So keep your chin up.
Yeah. No question about that. All right. So you've got Patriots 19.5. Seattle is 25.5. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Pretty high.
That's a big number. So the Seahawks score 24 points and win comfortably. Say they win 24-14. You're a big loser. I mean, that's a tough spot to be in. So I think that's a zofting number for a Seahawks team that's led by Sam Darnold. And look, he's having a great season going up against a Patriot defense that's been incredibly stingy here in the postseason.
Yes, but you have to look at what Seattle's done in the postseason so far in their 2 games that they've played. They've scored a combined 72 points. Yeah. So, that's way over
you've
the
got
line.
it. To me, I think that this may be an opportunity to pull the rug out a little bit on their offense. You have to put that into the proper context. Their offense was spectacular against the Rams, one of their better games of the year, and there's no way to slice it. But there were some defensive plays in that game. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ethan. I think there was maybe 10 points that was pretty much scored or set up by the defense. And against the 49ers, all those points were scored by the defense. The defense was doing it all. San Francisco had 1 million turnovers. They couldn't do anything. And at halftime, I think they had 35 points just because it was a blowout. So I don't think the Patriots are going to hand Seattle that many points, and it's going to be up to their offense to really make it happen. So I think that's a lot. I think 25.5 is a bit high. That's where I am on that.
I'm just contemplating because Seattle's been scoring so many points all year.
But I just told you how. It's been with their defense.
Yeah, well, their defense makes plays in every single game.
So you think the Patriots are gonna hand Seattle a bunch of points?
Not necessarily. I just think that their defense is good enough to make 1 or 2 plays, and it could result in some points. And all of a sudden they've scored 10 points in the span of 5 minutes. And you're like, oh my God, how did we not think to take 25.5?
No, that's it's a possibility. So here's the other thing. skill position players are not overly essential, but we've gone at the quarterback position. We've talked about the defense. You'd have to say Seattle probably has the edge here, but these Patriot guys. You talked about the catch that Booty made against Houston, and that was an unbelievable play. Diggs having a very strong campaign for the Patriots. Seattle, obviously Smith and Jigba. Which team do you think has the more explosive players when the ball's in their hand?
Well, when you look at the wide receiver ones for the teams, you look at Diggs and you look at Njigba, Seattle has the clear advantage there. Jackson Smith and Jigba just won Offensive Player of the Year. He had one of the best receiving years in the past decade. But outside of those two guys, they're pretty similar. Rashid Shaheed's he's a good deep threat, and he can make some explosive plays happen. But he's not a receiver that you target on 5 times down the field. And their tight ends are kind of no names. I'd actually probably give the tight end edge to New England with Hunter Henry, who's been probably a fringe top 10 tight end. So I do think outside of Njigba being the clear winner in that wide receiver one talk, I think they're pretty evenly disputed.
All right, so let's do this. Let's have a little bit of fun here, okay? So let's analyze the game. Congratulations, Ethan. You've just been named to be a professor, okay? And
Professor E.G.
That's right, Professor E.G. So I want you to set the stage here. I'm going to get a piece of paper. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through every group for both teams, and we're going to give a very quick letter grade. And then from there, we're going to figure out how the game is going to be played and who has the edge, okay? So you can talk about who you think some of the top units will be, and then I'll start to read them to you, and we'll do a little grade.
Should we do offense or defense first?
Well, what do you think? What do you want to do first?
Start with the offense. That's what people love to hear, as we
right.
mentioned all show.
True.
So I would like to start with the biggest position in quarterback, Drake May versus Sam Darnold.
All right, let's do the quarterback.
I think you want what I predict for the stats or how I've graded them throughout the season?
Just in your opinion of how good they are, right? Just your analysis of them. Give a letter grade based on however you analyze.
I think Darnold's a good player. I really like the team around him, so I don't know how much that impacts him, but he makes the big throws when he needs to. He can't really extend out of the pocket, but he pushes the ball down the field like no one else. So I do have to give him an A for his throwing, but
what's his overall grade? A?
Yeah, that's kind of high. I would say B+.
You're going to give him a B+. I was going to give him a B. Okay.
B+, Sam Darnold.
So, yeah.
And then Drake May. Drake May's he's done everything he needs to do throughout the year. I'd also give him a B+.
I was going to give him a B+.
Yeah. So
all right. So we'll say the quarterback position's even.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty even with how they played throughout the year. They're not the MVP, but they're 2 and 3 in the MVP race. Running back. Next up, you've got Henderson and you've got Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker is an unbelievable running back.
Well, not only Walker, they've got a two-pronged approach there with Seattle.
He's hurt.
He's not going to play.
He's not going to play. Charbonnet's not going to play. He tore his ACL in the 49ers game, I want to say. But Kenneth Walker is unbelievable. He can run through anybody. I think he'll turn 2 yards into 6 yards. Like, that's the type of running back he is. He's an absolute monster. So I give him an A-. And then Henderson's a rookie, but you look at the stats, and then you see about 1,000 yards. I want to say 8 touchdowns on the season. And, you look at Jahmyr Gibbs' rookie season, and it was about the same. So I'm going to give him a similar grade to what I gave Jahmyr Gibbs coming out of his rookie year, which is a B+.
All right.
However, Jahmyr Gibbs has now become one of the better running backs in football. So I do think Henderson has that ability to grow, and he has a very high ceiling. I just don't think he's there yet.
I'm going B+ for Seattle. I'm going B- for the Patriots. So
a little lower.
We each give Seattle a little.
Am I grading too high?
No, I think you're doing fine. That's just where I am. All right, offensive line play for each side. Now it could be tough to analyze, but just think about which quarterbacks have been under a lot of pressure this year. How have teams run the ball? How have teams run the ball based on the quality of their running back? Right. So I think those are kind of the questions to consider. I can start if you want, or you take it.
I'll take it. We'll go with the Patriots to start here. Why not? They've been. I think Drake May is like the 3rd most pressured quarterback in the NFL.
All right.
He had 3 fumbles against the Texans. He got sacked a bunch.
Well, that's the best defense in the league.
Yeah, well, he got sacked a bunch against the Chargers. And then the Broncos pretty much shut him down with their D-line and their secondary.
How much of that's the offensive line? How much of that is a young quarterback maybe holding the ball too long?
probably pretty split, I would say. I mean, the quarterback has to understand that the pressure's coming and his offensive line isn't great, but the offensive line has to be able to hold up as well. So I think it's pretty split. I don't love Will Campbell in that group. I think they've been giving up some heat recently.
So I think Will Campbell has been a consensus good pick for them, and people seem to be very complimentary.
What I've been seeing on Will Campbell is that he's not very good.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Where have you seen that? I feel like what I've heard and
where have you heard from
just reporters covering the team and the team themselves? I think that part of their rebuild.
The team itself is happy with him right now and where he's at in his development, but I just don't think he's been what he should have been coming out of the draft, which is a stud left tackle.
So you don't think he's a stud left tackle?
No, I don't. I really.
So what's
don't.
your Patriot grade?
B-.
All right, I was gonna go B+. I think their offensive line's a key reason why they're in this game tonight. On Sunday night.
I mean, they've just been getting Drake May's like the third most pressured quarterback all year, so like you can't really give them too high of a grade there. It's more Drake May extending the plays and
So you think May's that good? You think he's overcoming an average to below average offensive line with weapons that
I don't know if it's
you
May.
think aren't that great?
I don't know if it's May or if it's McDaniels dialing up plays for May to succeed.
I mean, at some point you have to have the players to make it happen.
Of course.
I mean, think about McDaniels with the Raiders. It was a disgrace.
Yeah, no, of course, but Drake May is making the plays that McDaniels is giving to him, I should say, and he's getting the ball out fast. They don't take too many shots. They get their receivers open. They run great plays, and then May delivers.
Yeah.
So it's McDaniels and then May, if that makes sense. So I gave them a B-, and I think Seattle has kind of had an up and down offensive line all year. I haven't done too much research on their offensive line. I'm not gonna lie, but from what I saw in the playoffs so far with the 49ers and then the Rams, Darnold was sitting there in the pocket sometimes for like upwards of 5 seconds, and they were playing great. He was able to take time and make his reads and hit the guys down the field. So I do give the edge to Seattle here. Would I give New England a B-?
Yeah.
I'll give Seattle a C+ just because of how they've looked in the playoffs. Or a B+. Sorry, a B+.
So we're both giving the edge to Seattle. I gave Seattle an A- actually for their offensive line play. I gave New England a B+. So I think both offensive lines a little bit better than. But the bottom line is, here's the thing: our grades have been a little bit off, Ethan. But who we're giving the edge to has been identical. So far we've got quarterback is basically a tie. Offensive line Seattle. Running game Seattle. Okay, so let's do wide receivers and tight ends as one. Okay.
All right, well, now that we're on, I don't love how people make out the importance of receivers.
Yeah.
I think that, it's more on the quarterback. Obviously, a receiver can make an unbelievable catch, and that's like, whoa, that's a game-changing play. But, being able to separate and being able to run routes is something that I think a lot of receivers can do if they're given, the right offensive coordinator and the right, play calling. However, Jackson Smith-Njigba his catch radius is incredible. He's been the best receiver in the NFL all season long. And on the other hand, you've got Stephon Diggs, who's had a very nice season himself. You put tight end in the same category?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for tight end, I have to give the edge to New England there with Hunter Henry, as we said earlier.
Just consider him another receiver is what I'm saying. Grade them all together.
For New England, it's tough because outside of Diggs, they don't really have too much. However, with how they've played in the playoffs and how Boutte played and Demario Douglas scored a touchdown against the Texans, I'll give them a B+.
So basically, based on the Texans game, that's your grade is what it is.
Yeah.
How did this guy do against the Texans? All right, he's good or not good.
Well, that's
so the Patriots' offensive line gets a bad grade because the Texans' defense is really good, and there was a lot of pressure.
Did I give them a bad grade?
Yes, you gave them a B-.
Well, they've struggled all year. Drake May's been the third most pressured all year.
I think
all
year.
Most pressured quarterback.
I think I just cracked you.
No. Go look it up.
I think all year means against the Texans.
No, it does not. Drake May's been the third most pressured quarterback in the NFL.
What was your grade for their weapons?
Who? New England?
Yes. What grade did you just give?
B minus.
Okay, thank you very much.
And then
I don't disagree with that. I'll give him a B.
Seattle, I would give a B because in Jigba's an A plus, but outside of that,
I give him a B plus.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a very slight edge for Seattle's weapons. So generally, we're giving Seattle's offense a reasonable advantage in this football game.
And I do think that's fair. I think they've been the better offense all year.
So then let's do this.
They scored the number one. They scored the most points in the league per game.
Let's go front seven, and then let's go secondary. Okay. So the front seven, you can start with whichever team you like. What are you giving a grade?
I'm going to start with the Patriots.
All right.
I do think their front seven has gotten a lot better over the year. They got Milton Williams back in, I want to say, week 13, which has been a key player for them. I mean, he's an unbelievable defensive tackle. And I think it's a very underrated front seven. I think Spillane's a good linebacker. I think Kayvon Chason has made a renaissance to his career. I think they have some really good pieces on that front seven, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of people in the Super Bowl. I'm going to give them an A minus.
You're going to A minus for New England's front seven. That's a big time grade.
I think they've looked legit all postseason. They gave up 7 points to Denver.
Yep.
They gave up 26 points all postseason, and I think that's a big reason to why or how good their front seven is.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going B plus, so we're not far apart there.
For Seattle, I'm gonna call it pretty even here because I like their defensive tackles. And Boye Mafe, Leonard Williams, I'm missing an edge in there, but they got some really good pieces on that front seven as well. And I think who's that linebacker that they just signed?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Anyway, they got a good linebacker in there. I am gonna give them the same grade because they've played super well all year and. They've been the top scoring defense in the NFL, so I'm going to give them the same grade. So I'm even on the Patriots and the Seahawks front seven. And as we move to the secondary, I do think Seattle has the much better secondary here. I mean, you've got Witherspoon, Eamon Wari, Julian Love, Tariq Woolen versus Christian Gonzalez.
Christian is a star.
Christian's a superstar. He's not just a star. He's a stud. He's a lockdown corner, so you do have to give that secondary some credit. But Seattle's got players all over the field in that secondary. They fly to the ball. Nick Eamon-Wari, that's a name that needs to be remembered because you can play him in the box. You could play him over top. You can play him anywhere. You could man him up on a receiver, on a tight end, wherever you want to put him. He's gonna make a play, and he's a star rising. He's a rising star, I should say. So I'm going to give this slight edge to Seattle's secondary. I'll give New England a B plus because Gonzalez is shut down, and I'll give Seattle an A minus. I think Seattle is the most well-rounded team in the NFL, and I think they've shown that all year.
So here's what we found. New England, according to both of us, doesn't have they don't have a positional advantage in any metric against the Seattle Seahawks. Everyone's very close. There were no blowouts, right? Both of these teams, it's what we said. The diagnosis we gave is accurate. These are two well-rounded teams that have been rewarded with their versatility, but they're not exceptional really in any unit. I would say Seattle's secondary is exceptional. I gave Seattle's
100%.
secondary an A because if you're going to give an A, right, you've got to be able to give me a couple teams that have better secondaries. Can you come up with 2 or 3 teams whose secondary is better than Seattle?
Houston.
All right, so the Texans fan says Houston.
Well,
all right, just move on. Find me one more. We can talk about your fandom another time.
I do think it's the second best secondary.
Okay, there you go. So that's an A.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave the Patriots an A minus because Gonzalez is really strong.
They're probably right
and
up there too.
They're right up there, and then both of them are in the top 5. So I think what we're finding, Ethan, is this is going to be a tough game for the offenses, and a lot of it's going to come down to scheme and which coordinators going to be able to create opportunities for their quarterbacks against tough defenses. And Clint Kubiak, he's about to take the Raiders job with Tom Brady, so certainly Brady's been impressed. And Josh McDaniels, like we talked about,
probably
he's been a stalwart OC for about 2 decades now. So that's the stage. All right, let's do this, and then we're going to make a little score prediction, okay? You've got the positions are out there. We've explained how the game is going to go. Now tell me how it's going to go. What's the script going to be like? And then after your script, I want to score. So this team struggles to do this. This team struggles to do that. Patriots throw the ball well, and then they don't, and an interception.
I think New England starts the game out, running the ball, making quick throws as they always do, getting the ball out of Mayo's hands.
Do they have any success with that in the first quarter, let's say? I'm going to say not really.
I was going to say 3 points.
I was going to say 3 points, too.
I was going to say, they get a field goal. They get down the field maybe once, but not all the way down the field. So 3 points for New England in the first quarter is my prediction. Now, on the other side of the ball, you have Seattle, who loves their air raid offense. They love to throw the football. They love to, get their receivers open down the field, create chunk plays, if you will. I think they get in the end zone one time. I think they get the ball to start the game, and they go right down the field and they score. And then I think New England responds with a 3, and then I think a few punts will happen back and forth, kind of playing the field position game here. And you get down to the end of the second quarter, and I think New England takes a shot, their first shot of the game, and they score a touchdown 10-7.
Yep.
10-7 half.
Patriots lead 10-7 at the break.
With the ball.
And that's despite giving Seattle the edge in every statistical category.
Yeah, I think that McDaniels and Vrabel have
so
this
it
team
seems
playing
to
how
me
they need to.
You're kind of all over a first half under, possibly. For somebody who's just trying to interpret what we're saying. I don't
all
disagree
over
with you.
a first half under.
Okay.
And then New England comes out, gets the ball in the second half, and they, get to like the 40-yard line, and they miss a field goal.
Okay.
57-yarder. Yeah. It's a deep field goal.
Does Seattle cash in on this missed field goal?
I mean, the momentum completely swings. I think, they scored. They had a tough first half going up against a very good defense. 7 points scored. But then New England misses a field goal, and all the momentum immediately switches to Seattle.
Right.
They go down, they score a touchdown, 14-10. 14-10 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter.
Now, I just want to interrupt for 1 second. I'll let you get back in your flow. While I'm talking, you can start to figure out the rest of the script in your head. Now, fans or listeners may be thinking, all right, here's a kid, University of Arizona journalist student. Why should I care about his prediction for this game? Well, I'm going to tell you why you should care about what EG has to say. Because I asked him last Friday, I'm going to give you your flowers, Ethan. I said, Ethan. He's got a big smile on his face. I said, what's going to happen? Arizona State. The spread's 14.5. It's going to be closer. It was a close game here. What do you see? He says, I don't know. I think Arizona's going to win by like 13 points. They won by 13 points. So with that said, finish your script.
14-10 with 6 minutes left. Well, I do have to say about that Arizona game before I get back to my script.
You got lucky, though.
Kind of. I mean,
there's a 4-point play with 50 seconds left.
They won by 13,
they did.
just under the spread.
But you got a little bit lucky.
What are you going to say? The reason why I went with just under the spread was because Arizona State always plays the close game against Arizona, no matter the
and
sport.
Definitely a close game when they're down by 20 with 1 minute left. That's what I think when I think of a close game.
Yeah, well, they covered. Cover's a cover. they won by 13. Anyway,
yes, they did.
What I was gonna say is the reason why I thought it was gonna be right there at the spread at 13 was because they played us very close at home. However, they shot 45% from three. And, that's just from natural regression that's going to come down. 45% from three is not maintainable. So
wait, are we talking about the Super Bowl or not?
We'll get back there. But that was the reason why I went with 13 right around the spread, because it's just some natural regression. But they always play a closer game. So there was some reasoning behind that.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the Super Bowl. 14-10 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter. New England gets the ball, and they need to respond here.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Do they?
That's up to you. I gave you time to plan this out.
I know, and I am
you took a victory lap instead.
Tossing and turning. I think they put up 3. I think they go down and they hit a field goal now. So 14-13 going into the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Low-scoring game. But I do think the offenses will come out.
I think so, too. I think that's
in
exactly
the fourth
right.
quarter.
Yep.
Because the defenses have been playing so well all game. And, let's open up the field. Let's make some big throws, create some chunk plays, get down the field quickly. And I think it goes Seattle touchdown, New England touchdown.
Whoa. Does New England go for 2?
21.
They've got to go for 2. 21-13, and then they
it's
score a touchdown.
21-13.
Then they score, so now it's 21-19.
21-19.
What are they going to do? They're going for 2.
They
Come
have
on.
to, right?
And remember that number's 19.5.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Every
might be in for a heartbreak.
Team total is looking iffy.
If they don't get it, I'm saying somebody who takes the over might be real bitter on Monday morning.
Oh, that's going to be a brutal
All right,
Monday.
so it's 21-19. Do they get it or not?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to
All
say
right.
no. They
I
don't
think
get the
you're
2
right
point. I think they go for a screen. I think it's a screen to Diggs.
Oh, my God.
And they don't get it.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
My favorite segment we've ever done on the show.
Yeah, this
we're
is
just
phenomenal.
making up the game.
Yeah.
And I have to say, 21-19 with about 8 minutes left or 7. I think that's exactly where we're going to be.
Yeah,
7
I do
minutes
too.
left. Seattle's up 21-19. All right, so Seattle's up 21-19. 7 minutes left to go. Do they play aggressive? Are they trying to put these guys away, go right down the field, 28-19? Or are they trying to take some clock and play not to lose?
Here's what I would do.
I'm not asking what you would do. What's Mike McDonald going to do?
I think they're going to start to take some clock.
Oh,
I think they're going to try that. Wait, you got to wait for me to finish. I think they're going to try to take some clock. It's not going to work. It's going to be like 3rd and 8. Right?
Okay.
And
3rd and 8 from their own 30. Darnold in the shotgun.
Darnold's in the gun. Drop back. Fires over the middle. And Jigba makes one of the best catches you've ever seen. First down Seattle.
Now another couple minutes are coming off the clock.
They can take a couple minutes. And it gets down to about 3 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, my God. They've had the ball for 5 minutes now. 5 minutes.
Well, you could take 2 minutes every first down.
I told you that.
2.5 minutes. So, 5 minutes, they get 1 first down.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Okay.
5 minutes off the clock, they punt it back to New England.
Oh. So New England's got the ball. We'll call 4 minutes. We'll settle them up. 4 minutes left. 4-minute offense here. Down by field goal takes the lead.
2. And I think they go
Drake May, what do you got?
About 30 yards.
All right, now they're at like midfield.
They're at midfield.
Just in the outskirts of field goal range.
Maybe they get another first down and they.
This is crucial. That's not a maybe. Are they getting it or not? There's 2 minutes. There's 2-minute warning. They're 1 first down away from field goal range, down by 2.
Seattle's got to have some timeouts left, so I do think they get it, and they get the first down.
Yep.
And they kick a field goal, it goes in.
All right, it's 22-21
Patriots. With 90 seconds left, and Seattle has one timeout. One timeout, and they go down, and they hit a field goal to win it.
Wow. Final score,
24-22.
Can I tell you something?
That's an interesting score.
There's not one thing you said that I would push back on. I think that's exactly how this game is going to play out. I think there's going to be some funkiness. There's going to be a 2-point conversion. There's going to be some back and forth. I think the defense are dominating the first half.
Everybody
in control in the first half.
Everybody's saying 27-24, 28-24.
And that could be. If there's an explosion at the end, then that could be.
So something in the higher range, something at about like 50 points total. Right. But I wanted to make
let's make history here.
Right at the over.
Let's make history right now. For the first time ever, I am going to match your score. This show is lockstep because I think the Patriots. You're agreeing with me. I mean, as much as we've gone back and forth here, you think the Patriots are going to be in this football game.
Yeah, I definitely do.
And they're not going to roll over. Some people think there's going to be a rollover. I don't. So I'm going to match that. The official rundown prediction.
So if
Seattle wins at 24-22. And by the way, nobody's if you were to take that exact score, 24-22
on that.
That'd be great odds. Great odds.
Yeah. So if you want a final score prediction. Bet for your DraftKings.
Seattle is going to win by 2 points.
Seattle minus 1.5.
Ooh.
And why don't you take the final score 24-22?
Okay.
And I think if you want some player props.
Oh, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I think that.
Sounds like you think Smith and Jigba is going to have a solid game. But here's the thing, Ethan.
I do.
Is Gonzalez not going to be guarding him?
He is. I don't know if Gonzalez travels.
Is he going to travel? It's a big question.
I don't know if Gonzalez travels. I haven't watched too much tape on him. I don't think he traveled against the Texans, but we didn't have any receivers.
Who's he going to travel with?
Yeah, there's nobody to travel against. But somebody like Njigba in a Super Bowl, he could very well be traveling. But
2 weeks to prepare for this game, too.
I do think, everybody's going to come out and say, oh, he's going to travel. Why everybody's going to be thinking that. What if they do reverse psychology?
Do you know the old Belichick strategy? If it was Belichick, he'd put Gonzalez on the number 2 receiver, and he'd double Smith and Jigba with 2 guys that are okay. That's what he would do.
I mean, yeah, that's not a bad strategy at all. I think that Njigba still has a decent day because I don't think Gonzalez is going to travel, even though everybody expects him to. It's just a reverse psychology type of thing that the Patriots seem like they would do. So I'm going to take Njigba's over. I like Hunter Henry to score a touchdown. Is that a crazy shout?
Do whatever you want.
He did it against the Chargers. I have a feeling that tight ends love to get in the end zone in the Super Bowls. And
so did you say Smith and Jigba big game or not really? I don't remember.
I would say around 75 yards.
All right, that's a pretty solid game.
Yeah, maybe.
So you're going Seattle Seahawks 24-22, Hunter Henry touchdown. Anything else? Leave it out there. Leave it at that.
Maybe. What about? I wonder if you could take. I haven't looked too much into this. If you could take total turnovers. I'm
sure you can. If you can do the coin toss, I think you can do anything.
I didn't put any turnovers in my score prediction, but I kind of want to go back and put Drake made a fumble in there, Darnold to throw an interception. I was more thinking about what I'm going to have the score as rather than having turnovers in there. But I do think there is one turnover at least. You
can, by the way. I'm quite certain you can.
What? Take total turnovers for both teams? Yeah. I think either May fumbles or, Darnold throws an interception. Right. I would look into that as well.
Last question, and then I'm going to ask you one question about, by the way, Ethan and Damon have the call tomorrow for Arizona, Oklahoma State, 2 o'clock tip-off.
Make sure to be here.
I'm going to have a question for that. That's my second question, and I have one here. Best Super Bowl you've watched in your lifetime. There's one to me that comes to mind right away.
Yeah, it was the one in Houston, 28-3 comeback.
Okay.
What would
Falcons,
you say?
That one made me want to throw up in my mouth.
I know what you're going to say because it's the same Super Bowl as this year.
Nope.
No, it's not?
Oh, God, no. The Patriots won that.
Yeah.
I'm a Patriot hater. My favorite Super Bowl, Nick Foles, 41-33. You got the fumble. You got Philly special. What a great game.
That was an unbelievable game.
And the Patriots lose, more importantly. All right, last question here. Arizona Wildcats favored by approximately 3 touchdowns tomorrow, 21-ish against Oklahoma State.
Oh, I was about to say 3 touchdowns. It's basketball.
I understand. It's still
21
touchdowns. The 21-point favorite against the Cowboys. What do we got there?
So
what should we expect? You've got some prep.
I've been doing a bit of research on Oklahoma State. They just had a very impressive win, by the way, against BYU. For those that follow college basketball, Anthony Roy, who's their starting shooting guard, put up 30 on 60% shooting. They dominated inside, but they don't have the size to match Arizona. I think their second tallest player is 6'5".
All right.
In their starting lineup, so they're a very small team compared to Arizona, who's got Krivas, Awaka, Pete. And Oklahoma State was killing BYU inside. They scored 52 points in the paint. Alongside, they had 34 free throws, if I remember correctly. So that could be a total of 85 points in the paint, or around the paint, near the paint, because of free throws and layups and close shots.
Right.
So they're taking high efficiency shots inside. They're getting to the basket. They're taking the shots that they want to take against BYU. I think that Arizona's defense is going to, step it up compared to BYU's. I think Arizona has much better defenders with Karchenkov on the wing, and Bradley's a phenomenal defender. And, Burries is a nice defender himself, too, with his great hands. But really, 7'2" Krivas, 6'8" Koa Pete. Awaka's got
so it's gonna be a lot of size.
Some of the broadest muscles I've ever seen.
Oklahoma State, that's their strength, right? Their strength is down low, but Arizona should be able to counter them.
Yeah, Arizona's probably the best defensive team in the country right now. Inside, outside, however you want to put it. So I'm going to say it's going to be right around that spread as well. And, Vegas looks at the same things that I do with, they dominated down low, but Arizona's got the best interior defense in the country, so Arizona's going to outmatch that, and that's why the line is so big, I would say. So I would say 21's a good spot to be for this game.
I think they're gonna cover that number, but it's certainly a big enough number that it gives you some pause. Here's what's at stake for Arizona: they've already got the longest winning streak in program history. They've already got the best start to a season in program history. The last thing to do is to have the best start to a season in the history of the Big 12 Conference. Currently, they're tied at 22-0. 23-0 would be the best start to a Big 12 team ever in the history of the conference. So it's been a historic start, a historic season for Arizona. Will it continue tomorrow? We expect that it will. And we've got the Super Bowl on Sunday. Ethan and I both say 24-22.
Make sure to listen to us tomorrow as well.
Yeah, catch the game with Ethan and Damon. Coverage probably beginning a few moments before 2 o'clock. We will see you on Monday with the Rundown.